All right. Good to meet everyone again. I don't see you. I see Alyssa. I see Zach. Alyssa is muted. Time to unmute, Alyssa. Get in the groove here.
You're right.
And it's good to see you again. It's been a busy week. We spent time in Chicago, spent time in Atlanta, and Lufthansa canceled the flight back with a really nice note saying, I hope you can find a new ticket from a different airline, which I did. And I flew over Paris and I came home on Saturday. So it's really good to see you all again here. We got a lot of good response from the last webinar. And now what I would like to do today is, and so here we got from, I think it was Anka, make it interactive and ask questions when you want to. But what I would like to do first is just to zoom out a bit and just reflect upon why are we here. I think why we're here and why we have such an interest in StoreLink, and we do have two StoreLinks. We see it here. You have e-commerce and you have web to print. E-commerce, usual suspect, Shopify, Etsy, Wix, all those brands that you know of. So if you have a customer on these platforms, they can instantly connect to your site and you can start to receive orders. And that should not take more than some seconds, especially if they're on like Etsy and Shopify and so forth, right? And in web to print, which will not be the focus for today's conference or webinar, it is more, an alternative to Procero, to Infigo, and so forth. That will not be part of today's webinar. Today we will focus on e-commerce and we will focus on apparel. So if we look at why this is so exciting for you and us, it is really starting with the consumer demand, which is shifting, moving to personalized, local, and on demand. Now, how do you get that into your site? Well, you need to connect to some of these e-commerce platforms. But if you look at our history, we have Optimal Print and we have Create. We have been in these ecosystems for the last, I would say with Optimal Print, we've been there for 17, 18 years. But with Create, we've been there for 6 years, I would say. We work extremely close with Amazon, with Shopify, with Etsy, and the creator economy at large. So I think that we have earned the right to help you, to grow with you. Many of the challenges you are faced with in your business today, such as, for example, how do you take a concept? How do you bring that concept from in your head to a beautiful AI-generated mockup, publish it on your site or the customer site, and start to sell it, build SEO content, search engine optimization content, and doing all these things that are tightly linked with winning in e-commerce. This is literally what we've been doing for the last 18 years, and especially with Create for the last 6 years. So just like we did with GelatoConnect, when we took all the software we built to manage production, logistics, and procurement, we have now taken all the software we have created and built over the last years, and we give it to you so that you can connect to the e-commerce industry or launch your own stores and start selling to consumers or to B2B, B2C. So with that introduction, we've been on this slide for a long time, and let's go to the next slide, which I think is for us. My name is Henrik. For you that have not met me before, I founded this company 18, 19 years ago. The journey, as I've said, started with Optimal Print, which is B2C, which still is here today. Then we moved into B2B and it became Gelato Create. And since summer 2024, we launched GelatoConnect, which is really software targeting the print industry and the apparel industry. And then I'll leave it to Alyssa.
Thank you, Henrik. And hi, everyone. So happy to be here and really excited to show you a demo of our apparel capabilities a little bit later on. My name is Alyssa, as you can see, and I'm a VP of Product Management at Gelato. I've been with Gelato for 10 years. I have experience across optimal print, so consumer, Gelato Create, and now I'm working with StoreLink to bring to you every part of those last 7 years that we've been building on Gelato Create, all of the capabilities and actually much, much more to you.
And how many creators are there in Albuquerque, do you think?
I hope that we're represented here. I'm
Okay.
sure there's a lot of creators everywhere, so
All
we
right.
want to give everyone the opportunity to sell some great apparel.
Yeah. Well, that's a hint, Zach. You need to get some customers in Albuquerque.
There we go. I'll get on that. It's about a 5 hour drive from me here in Denver, so can make a trip down.
Okay,
Good
good.
morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining. So Zach Brinkman, I'm the Director of Sales for GelatoConnect. I joined the company at the start of 2024, helped us launch in the summer there at Drupa, which big event. Awesome being able to spend a couple weeks there in Dusseldorf. My background is in software sales, but over the last 2+ years at Gelato, I've met with thousands of PSPs and business owners across the planet, work very closely with our customers, and I've really learned a lot from this space. And, just last week, Henrik mentioned it. We were in Chicago and Atlanta, hosting two events, which were incredibly energizing and a lot of fun. It was great to see so many folks there. I didn't have the same flight issues Henrik had, but we did have a freak snowstorm here in Denver that delayed me 3 hours, but it wasn't a cancel. So was able to get home just a little later than expected. But we get that from time to time here in Denver, just weird snowstorms as we get into April and May. And it was a great event last week, though.
That's what I always say. Apparel has a never-ending demand, Zach. Never ending.
Yep.
So we also, I think we have JC from ICA Florida on the call. I don't know if you can share your camera here, JC. You can try, and if you pop up, we'll make a short break for you to present yourself. But let's go to the next slide. Yeah, so I mentioned this in the introduction. Hey, JC, good to see you.
Hey everybody, good morning.
Yeah, and thank you for meeting up in Atlanta and also for joining on this webinar. I think there is no better way of communicating software, the value, than to actually have a real customer with real experience using the software as part of the whole webinar. But JC, there are sections here we would love to get your input on, but if you don't mind, if you can share a little bit about your background and how we're working together today, please.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me on here. And it was a pleasure being in Atlanta. I strongly recommend whenever they have those meetings to fly out. It's great experience to meet the team. So we're here in South Florida and we've been in business for about 7 years, specifically DTG. And we focus on our own e-commerce stores and our own internal brands, as well as POD customers that we take on and traditional B2B. A lot of the times when we first started trying to get into e-commerce, Amazon, Etsy, TikTok, we had ran into a lot of problems ourselves, building out platforms and finding people, developers internally to work with us. So during the time that we were working manually with all these orders on TikTok, Etsy, and Shopify, we had about 17 employees listing products for us. And these are virtual assistants. So they would get the titles, they would make the mockups themselves on Canva, Adobe Illustrator, like I'm sure many of you have internal designers right now. And that process was just overwhelming for us. I couldn't keep control of it. I had endless Slack channels, and I'm sure a lot of people know that feeling. So we started our hunt for the software like everybody else. We went through the major softwares that you would look at in the shows. We went to ISS, we went through all those, and we couldn't find something complete. They had a minor solution, but they didn't have the complete solution. So like everybody else, we went on Fiverr, Upwork, and started looking for in-house developers. And from there, my full-time role and my love for printing started deteriorating because I suddenly became a full-time software developer. And once I heard about Gelato, and they actually reached out to me through a phone call, and I still laugh about this through this day. I don't answer the phone to anybody, but I answered the phone, and they told me we have this software that we use. And I heard about Gelato, and I knew that they had a complete built platform that I could never compete with. So from there, I got on the call. They showed me everything they had already built for their other side of the business, and I knew that I could leverage this and get rid of all of these extra costs that I had with my in-house developers, my virtual assistants. So from then on, we started using StoreLink, which I'm super excited about. And any chance I get to talk about it, I do, because it's really changed the way we do business. Where we have direct API integrations through all of the major marketplaces, which that alone I couldn't crack for 6 months. Now I can sell through all of these marketplaces, and they'll go into detail of other things as well, but they have an automated process to list over 200 to 300 products daily. So when you think about that, I used to do that with 17 people. Now we have 3. So, and that's with SEO titles, tags, and not only for your internal stores, for those of you that don't have any interest in doing e-commerce, you can just say, hey, to all of your customers that want to do POD, I have a solution for you that allows you to do this. And you could just hand this to them, and they'll be your customer in your funnel forever, because once they have 200, 300, 400 products listed and everything goes through your store link, they're your customer forever. So that's what we're experiencing right now. They're going to go into a lot of detail, but we're really excited to be at the forefront of this. I think those who take this step and really take this serious are going to be ahead. We're all competing for the same B2B customer around us, but I think this really sets the shops that are going to really drive forward into the future with this platform.
Well, thanks for that, JC. And I just want to make one thing crystal clear. You're not paid to join.
100%
Okay,
not paid.
good.
And I do this out of, and I tell this to everybody, right? Because they're like, I even show up to the events. The pain that we went through, we were about to be driven out of the business. So we have really good machines, corny. We have, we've been through all the machines. I have Brother GTX 600s. I have Rock Nows. You guys can see them on Instagram, on imperialcustomapparel.com. You're welcome. So you can see that we really live this. And I told my dad, who's my partner, I was like, look, we're about to step out of this business, man. I didn't come in here to be a software developer, and this frustration is extreme. So if I wouldn't have found Gelato and I wouldn't have done what they did for our business, we would have been out of here, because I didn't have any interest in being a software developer. So I share this story to save people the pain points and the pain that we went through for years of not being able to scale.
Thanks, JC. And please, JC, if you just stay on the call, please.
Yeah.
And you can keep your camera on. And if you feel we're moving too fast, moving too slowly, just interrupt us. If you have some comments, what we want with these webinars, the webinars are for you. The webinars are not for us. So this is where we engage with you, we take your questions, and we share, of course, what we have in the pipeline, but please do interrupt whenever you want. So with that, I think I've spoken enough about this. Let's move to the next slide, please. And this is you, Zach.
Yes. So ultimately, the question comes down to, why does this ultimately matter with StoreLink for e-commerce and StoreLink for B2B? And it's because customers are leaving to competition. Buyers are changing, new marketplaces open up. But when we think about ultimately the way you're able to manage orders, apparel is much more complex than a lot of other spaces, because you've got thousands of SKUs, if not hundreds of thousands of SKUs to fulfill. And that's where creators are going and finding alternative options to be able to fulfill that work, to simplify this down. But they also want white label and branded storefronts that they are able to provide or get through other platforms. So there is really a shift that's taken place in this industry, and that's ultimately why it matters. And Henrik, in keynotes in the past, you've shared the growth of the e-commerce world and what you have seen, and that is expected to grow to 480 billion by the end of 2027. So it's right around the corner, and there's so much opportunity there, but it is accessing those platforms and being able to onboard those customers that have these different demands and these growing demands.
And I would even add, Zach, to that. Everyone on the call, if you think about where the world is today, with unfortunately, the wars we see, the supply chains, the growth of e-commerce, there are so many macro forces that are fueling local on-demand production. The growth is right in front of us, and it's driven by different macro forces, but they're all moving towards, the same end result, which is more personalization, more local production, shorter delivery times, and less dependency on fragile supply chains. So with that, let's move to the next slide, please.
Yeah. Yeah, and GelatoConnect customers in the apparel world are seeing huge results. We met with last week. They're a decorator up in Canada, as well have his facility here in the US in Buffalo. They were able to go from zero POD orders to over 20,000 within the first month of being on the platform. And what was amazing talking to him last week is why StoreLink for e-commerce and B2B is so relevant. He just won 4 new customers in the Canadian market, huge organizations that are really going to grow the business. And he onboarded those 4 customers in less than 2 weeks. He told me it was 10 total hours of time to go from those contracts signed to leveraging StoreLink to onboard those customers. And when you think about how long that would take with other systems or through developing your own software, that is months worth of work per customer. So his time to value was cut down by, 3 months per client by leveraging StoreLink and onboarding them that quickly. And now he's continuing to invest in more machines, expanding out his capacity. And, is really a phenomenal story with going from zero POD to 20,000 in just 1 month's time. We've also
Just to
seen,
give a just to give sorry to interrupt you again here, but I think it's important. He said it took him 10 hours, not 2 weeks. And just to give a sense of the size of these 4 customers, it's like $500,000 per customer. And then in terms of size of his facility, I think he mentioned in front of everyone when we met in Chicago that he has 70 decorating machines now, seven
yep.
zero. So that's the size of his facility. Back to you, Zach.
Yeah, and we've seen, that growth as well with Tidy Merch. They've doubled their revenue. And I think the key piece here is they've done it without adding staff. So often growth has been connected to headcount and needing to hire employees. For every 500,000 in new revenue, that might be 2 new employees to bring on to handle that. But Charlie at Tidy Merch has been able to double his revenue without hiring an additional person. So it's really the software is decoupling growth from the headcount needs. And JC, you had mentioned this before with, listing staff, while scaling the output, going down from 17 employees that handled this previously, now down to 3. And, what has that ultimately meant to the bottom line of your business, JC?
I mean, first of all, it's bought back my time. It's been huge on our end because at the end of the day, I would have to go back and check all their work with my management team, and that would require hours of making sure they centered the mockups correctly, making sure they used the right artwork, making sure their tags weren't just random SEO. And it was a lot of time that I was able to buy back and do and focus what I actually like, which is the getting new business for the business. The listing part, it was mind blowing when we listed our first. I think it was 60 products with myself because I needed to test it. I wanted to see how far I can do it. And once we started seeing the consistency of the placement of the designs, the consistency of the SEO, the description, the colors, everything, it was definitely like mind blowing to me because we were like, hey, now we can finally have instead of 2 stores, 10 stores, and now we can take on customers from the outside to help us. But what I was most excited about, even dropping from 17 to 3, is the savings in not trying to build this myself. That was the biggest part that I was happy about.
Yeah, well, appreciate that, JC. Thank you. And it was fun at the Impressions Expo. Yeah, watching you all demo what you were doing at the booth there in January. It was really, really cool to see that. In one of the last components of where we're ultimately driving down costs is on the shipping side. That is a lot of the time for folks, a sunk cost to the business where we can save 10%. And what we heard from a lot of the customers last week is they've actually unlocked 30% savings in shipping, which again is just additional, revenue and additional margin now that you're able to take back from using the platform. And,
Okay.
ultimately here, we want to help solve two scenarios. Store link e-commerce, unlocking Etsy, TikTok, Amazon, Shopify, Wix, WooCommerce, that goes on. Before trying to manage those integrations would require a whole bunch of different softwares to run, development time, like JC mentioned, and having to build your own. We want to bring that and our experience working in the e-commerce world and these native integrations into the platform. And now we have also launched web to print. So being able to help tackle both the e-commerce side as well as the B2B world. And, web to print now is bringing in one stop, one software company for, all those out there on the GelatoConnect platform, allowing you to do both B2B and really capturing that e-commerce world. So Henrik, I am
Yeah.
being a little conscious of time
Yeah,
here.
me too.
Thinking
I was
maybe we go
thinking,
to the demo.
yeah, I totally agree. But I think this is a great background, and I love the fact that we have JC here who can share his view from real life. So, Alyssa, will hand it over to Albuquerque.
Yes, thank you. And I want to say before I go into the demo that it's great to hear about JC's story. And there was a question that came up of how quickly can I get these things up and running? So on the e-commerce side, I mean, we have integrations with Shopify, Etsy, WooCommerce, TikTok.
Amazon.
Amazon, yeah. So if you have a customer with a store that does any of those integrations, we can basically get you up and running instantly because you connect in and everything is then available to you in terms of listings. And then you can come to the gelato side, update pricing, do all of those sorts of things. So yeah, just to answer that question that I knew came up about how quickly we can get up and running.
Great. Thank you.
Cool. Now let me try this demo.
2 seconds. So we got a question here. Does Gelato have an approved preferred list of hardware for new businesses, label printers, barcode scanners? Yes, we do. So we will help you along the whole way there. And I went through it quite quickly in the beginning, but we have hundreds of partners around the world that are producing for us. We're producing now in 31 countries. And they all use the same type of software, which is then GelatoConnect, but then also we have a very good guide for how to activate and onboard with GelatoConnect. And part of that is to your question here, label printers, barcode scanners, and so forth. Back to you, Alyssa.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I want to show you a couple things. One of them is the how do you get started with apparel? What can we show on an apparel store? Um, and then we can go into a few of the things that we've recently launched. So, for example, you can now do embroidery with Gelato Store Link, Gelato Connect Store Link. That's included kind of out of the box. So if you go to the editor now, you'll be able to see auto-digitized previews of embroidery. We're also bringing in way more bulk connections and bulk operations. So you're going to be able to get up and running very, very quickly. Now let me share my screen.
And JC, if you have any comments, if you want to add something to the context here, please feel free to do so.
Great, we'll do.
Thanks.
It's finding the right
I'm
screen.
just trying to buy time here now while Alyssa is.
Well, in the meantime, I mean, a lot of people, for example, even in Atlanta, or even when I was just at Connections in Corny, which some of you were there, a lot of people don't understand the gap that there is with the marketplaces, right? So TikTok Live accounted for over $30 billion in sales last year in 2024. We primarily drive live sales, which is like the QVC, and StoreLink has the direct connection to TikTok. So when you start offering that, you're going to get this wave of sellers that want to sell on TikTok Live because they have zero marketing costs. So they can get on live for 4 to 5 hours and sell 20 t-shirts and produce significant GMV. You can do that for your internal stores like we do for our DTG products, hats, embroidery. And Gelato has all that with their workflow, with the procurement, everything we have set up with them. Or you can also promote that to your customers. So this is huge because everybody's trusting people on live selling, and I think we're in the beginning phase of it, and nobody's really taking advantage of it. And those who are don't have the leverage that all of us on this call have with our equipment.
Mm.
And JC, you're up to 7 or 8 stores now. How many have you launched?
So usually when we open a brand, first thing we do is like we get that store and we separate it into 4 marketplaces: Shopify, Etsy, TikTok, and Amazon, all 4. So every single brand we have 4 stores for it. So in total we have 3 brands, and in total it'll be 12 stores.
Okay. So that was
But
up
you know,
from when we met in January. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, no, and definitely now with the updates that you guys made with the web to print, I'm sorry, with the B2B websites, I'm super excited to offer that to the customers, because that's been a big concern. You know, from like my previous systems that I used to have. Some context: I used to pay for ShipStation, Order Desk, and Printable, and DecoNetwork, because every single one of them gave me a different feature. So now you guys have bought that all in one place, and I'm super excited to try that when it comes out.
Great. Alyssa, you want to go?
Yeah. So here I want to show you how to add a t-shirt, for example, for an indie music festival. And if you're thinking about what types of customers you can get through StoreLink e-commerce, the answer is that there's a lot of different ones. So, for example, there's a music festival who starts with Coach and ends with Ella, and they have a Shopify store. Mercedes Formula One is all hosted on Shopify. So you can find really, really interesting enterprise customers that are also selling on Shopify. So if we want to start by adding a product, it's actually super easy. So you can click add product here, and you can add a single product. You can also use a template, so you can get something set up that you can create over and over. I think, JC, you guys have used that pretty effectively. Or you can copy products over from another store. So in this case, I'm going to go into apparel. Sorry, let's see this hat first. So it's really easy to show embroidery. This is actually what I was mentioning was something really new. So all you need to do is click in here. Let's pick embroidery. And we're going to be, because it's a music festival, using some sort of text like this. Now, what happens that it auto-digitizes just by itself. So you can see a preview of what it's actually going to look like at the end of the day. And we can now also change the coloring. So we can make it gold, for example. So that's something that's actually a built-in integration. So this ability to digitize files. Previously, you had to digitize off platform and then add in the DST file in order to do embroidery on StoreLink or any other e-commerce shops. And one thing that JC was also talking about was our Magic Mockups feature, which is here we can add in a prompt to generate a mockup that's relevant to our store. And in
Now
this
it
case,
went very quickly again. So if
sorry, I
um
think it
yeah,
skipped a screen, but I
yeah.
basically looked for a prompt that was a woman with long hair at this indie
Okay.
music
Got it.
festival. And then it generated this showing my product on a woman. JC, you guys have also given a lot of feedback about how you've used this to be perfectly on brand with your products. I don't know if
Yeah.
there's anything you want to say about the magic mockups.
So why is this beneficial for anybody, right? Number one, I don't know how many of you have done private photo shoots, but they're expensive. In the past, I had to have them sign agreements to release their images, rent studios, take pictures of babies, models, edit them, use them as mockups, and even go on Etsy and try to buy SVGs of all the same blonde lady you see selling in every place. So I was super happy when this came out, because now we're able to have a different image for each different holiday, each different event, and it really makes it stand out. So I utilize this a lot, not only for StoreLink, but I use it for my B2B side as well, for unique mockups, football games, stuff like that. So even if it's not for your own store, you can have this on a B2B store for a customer. So just think about the power of that. Instead of not having the same Printful and Printify, same lady standing there, this is really something unique that'll make you stand out.
Yeah, and one thing to add to that is if you see there's also upload your own. So you can also upload something that you previously had. So if you have a specific look or feel or model that you want to use here, you would be able to do that as well. So again, if you have actually invested in those photo shoots or you found some sort of mock-up that you like, you can continue to use that and create also brand continuity within the stores.
And if you notice, it's centered it for you, right? It's perfectly centered. To me, that was the most tedious part. I would notice that they made it slightly crooked and 300 listings were up. So we had to go back and fix all of them.
Oh yeah.
So can I before we move on, I just want to share another question, which I think is for JC and Alyssa. Here's a question. I did want to raise a question as we are currently in the onboarding process. However, there are a lot of different softwares that we now have to buy, subscribe for, FileZilla, SFTP servers, Theory, Digital Factory, plus Epson 307, 3070S. Also having to look into digital agents to use the SFTP to pass info into the RIP software. Are there plans to offer more support to simplify the process without all of these third-party connections? JC, any comments?
As far as my experience with all those,
No,
uh,
as far as when you work with Gelato Connect and Gelato here, Store Link, what would be your answer to this question?
well, as far as me working, I don't have to worry about setting all those extra things up like I did in the past. Like I said, that I utilize all those other platforms in order to just get an order through the system. I think
But
that that
here
gives
I
me,
think, sorry to interrupt you, but here I think the customer is saying, I am currently onboarding, but now I need to buy all this software in order to onboard. Is that,
oh, okay, now I understood.
yeah,
Okay, so as far
FileZilla,
as
SFTP,
I have an
Fury?
FTP, okay, so I mean, and this is where you have to look at it as, outweighing costs, right? So for me, my FTP that cost me $299 is nothing similar to the pain of having 17 people listing products, right? So we all understand that things are growing, things are being built. Gelato works at a speed faster than anybody I've ever seen. So to that question, I understand your concerns, right? But here's what you got to think about from a business perspective. What am I gaining for FileZilla, $29.99 a month, for FTP, for those four tools that I had to purchase as well? When I saw the
What would you
leverage,
say, JC, total cost for these four tools? What would you say per month? And then if you compare it with the 17 people you had before.
oh, night and day, man. So I spent under $800 for all those things, and that's because I decided to buy an upgraded FTP. But each of those VAs were earning 300 a week, so you can imagine, three times four, I was 1,200 a month. So we were in listing for a lot of people, and we were saving, and we were spending between cut 10 to 12,000 on virtual assistants
Okay.
a month. And it was huge because we weren't only listing for ourselves, we were listing for our partners that we were doing products for as well. So when you look at this minor investment, the leverage that you're getting is crazy because in a sense, the way I see it is Gelato Create stepped down and gave me this platform for me to leverage for myself for the price of StoreLink. So I think anybody who has a vision of staying in this business will easily make that trade-off because there's no way around it.
Thank you for that. And then Alyssa, we got another question here, and it's so great when you ask questions like this because it brings, so much relevance to the whole webinar. So the next question, Alyssa, are you planning to add automated vectorization in Connect?
Um, so Also, the answer to the previous one is if there's something you want, please raise it. I work with a team of engineers who, as JC says, I believe moves faster than anyone else in pretty much any business. We are using AI to write almost 100% of our code. So we've actually got things going right now as our engineers sleep, we're building. And we're building throughout the day too. So if we want to add vectorization, we don't have that today, but I want to hear more so then we can work quickly to get some of these use cases up and running.
This is from Luke Jansen. So Luke, please reach out to Alyssa about automated vectorization. And Alyssa, you can post your email address perhaps here. All right, so back to the demo.
Yeah, and it's easy to get a hold of me. I'm just alyssa@gelato.com. So we'll post it afterwards, but I love hearing about use cases, and my engineering team is super excited about any new challenge. So please send them over. All
Great.
right. Yeah, and then this is something that JC was also mentioning. This is pretty intimidating if you're just looking at a empty box. How do you fill that in with a good description? But we'll help you out by generating it with AI. And this is already bringing into account the best of SEO, GEO optimization, right? So you might think that you need some sort of expertise in that, but we've got that all baked in. So again, what do you want this product to be about? We fill it in and then we generate it. And it's instantly there. So it asks or it gives you a title and it gives you a description. You can go in and edit that if you want, but I think this looks pretty good.
Just 2 seconds here.
Yeah.
JC, you've been working with this. What would be your way of describing what just happened here?
So this for me, again, I come back to time because everything is time. I used to have 3 ChatGPT accounts in order for them to log in and describe the product to get proper titles, SEO optimized descriptions, and tags, because Etsy only allows you 13, depending what marketplace. What we see here is the same tool streamlined into one platform, which again, I come back to all in one, not having 10 screens open, not using 10 different platforms. Now you don't have to worry about, are they searching up correct SEO? Are they making correct descriptions? Because for those of you who have sold on marketplaces, if your title's bad, you're not selling anything. If your tags are bad, you have no chance of being a bestseller. That's for Amazon, TikTok, and Etsy. And the goal here is to have bestsellers. And the only way they find you is by titles, tags, and SEOs. So this alone, if you don't have this part, having a good product image doesn't mean anything. So this is where a lot of people fall short. Oh, I tried Etsy, but I'm not able to sell. This is what stands out. So this is huge for me. And I'm so happy that you guys added this because I use this for all my products and I even fix my old listings as well.
That
Thank
is so
you.
great to hear, JC. And like you said, I mean, this is for Shopify. So this is actually, this is made for Shopify, but if you choose Etsy, TikTok, etc., it's also platform specific. So it saves you tons of time. All right, now pricing, also really, really easy. You can just set a price and it'll get pushed through. In this case, my store is in Kroner. I could also set that because I'm actually in Oslo at the moment, so it reads that. But you could do it in USD, you can do it in euros, and it will automatically convert back to the currency that your store is in. So there's no need to be thinking about what it's going to look like. You can then preview any currency that you want, so you can make sure it looks nice. So this is all very, very easy. I've got my variant ready and I publish it. It's basically instantly available in my Shopify store. And now I can show you exactly what the Shopify store looks like. I'll just stop sharing for 1 second and grab the Shopify store. Um, so you can see the end result here.
JC,
Just
for people that are new to this, perhaps joining the call, perhaps they've been more in Procero, in Figo, in the web to print, moving in here, what is Alyssa now going to show from a PSP, print service provider's perspective? What is happening in the background now?
Yeah, so right now that product, everything that she had, the images, the titles, the SEO, the pricing, everything's getting pushed in the back end in less than, I believe, even 2 minutes. Getting cleanly, consistently listed. Nobody forgot a size, nobody forgot a color, nobody forgot a variant. You can rest assured that everything that was done in the back end is getting seamlessly transferred. Now, there's also huge benefits that I don't know if she's going to go over, but personalization, right? You can add personalization to that product. And now, for a lot of us, average order value is very important. Now we can increase AOV from $15 to $40 for a personalized product. And they have that for Etsy, Shopify, and the marketplaces that allow you to do that. So that's huge.
And Zach, before Alyssa shares anything you want to add at this point in the webinar?
Oh, I think, JC has shared a lot, and I think it's all incredibly valuable stuff for everybody. I think, you know, as customers change, they want the personalization. That is what they're looking for. So being able to offer that now is capturing a new buyer market. And, we've shared these stats in the past where just recently, 71% of buyers now are born from 1990 or on. And they're the ones that want the personalization. They're the ones that want localization, on demand, as well as, I mean, I do this myself. I'm not born after 1990, but if it's on Amazon and I can't get it today or tomorrow, I'm going to a different product. So those are the buyer habits that this ultimately allows you to capture now. And there's a huge pool of those buyers in the marketplace. It is the majority of buyers now are wanting these types of things.
I thought you were 1996 variant, Zach.
All this gray now,
Okay.
not 1996. I
Okay.
wish.
Okay.
Hey, listen, quick thing because I remember hearing this a lot in the shows. A lot of us, when we start in B2B, we have the dream of having our own rush order tee store with all the gilded comfort colors with the personalization feature. With StoreLink, right? I haven't done it yet, but I can create myself an account and have all those variants uploaded with a personalization feature, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually should I'll record a demo for the personalization part of this as well. We actually have two types of personalization, and we just launched a product or a new feature, which is custom fonts. So we actually have the ability to either do inline personalization on Shopify, meaning that there's a t-shirt and you can put in your font, your text, could be a name, could be many names. I mean, you can think of any personalization you want, and it auto updates the preview. And the other thing is that you can open up a design editor and also edit that way. So, as a follow-up, I'll send a demo of those personalization options. I didn't prepare them today, but I think they're incredibly powerful, especially as you said, JC, for pulling up uh, average order value. We also see that on the e-commerce side.
So here's another whole revenue stream, right? For those of you that are B2B, you have Gildan, comfort colors, everything you have in stock. You have a personalization feature. The customer doesn't have to call you. They can put their shirts, and now you can have multiple matching shirts for family trips, whatever they need.
Yeah,
Yeah, and just also JC and Alyssa, this is of course connected then to GelatoConnect procurement,
and
which automatically where we have the largest distributors giving very competitive pricing, which you can testify to, JC, because they are connected to Gelato, knowing that they are connected to millions and millions of orders every year.
Yeah.
So there is this economies of scale and flywheel effect in both the beginning, which is the actual procurement, making sure you have the right products in your warehouse, but also at the end, making sure that you ship it with the best possible combination of speed and carrier and cost.
yeah, and I want to show you also just the end result. So what is this going to look like? So this was again this music festival. Could be anything, could be Formula One merch, could be literally anything you can think of. So we create these product detail pages now for you. These are the variants. In this case, you can also add colors, there's sizes. Everything is pushed through automatically. The pricing is pushed through, so has the description. This is a t-shirt that I created earlier. And this is, for example, the magic mockups. You can zoom in and appreciate it in different colors and sizes. And you can see your example um, t-shirt on this mock-up, and it just looks very on brand for this particular use case. Yeah.
And we also have different colors, right, Alyssa? Black,
Yeah.
green font, red font.
Oh yeah, you can put so on the web to print side, you can make this look however you want. It is fully branded. On Shopify, it's as endless as you want it to be. So whatever you are offering, you can push through that apparel. You can add colors, sizes. We can generate, the different color previews. So really whatever number of variants you want to push through, we can do that pretty instantly.
Thank you. So I know we're kind of nearing the end, but I want to make sure that everyone that has a question, please submit your question. And JC, from your perspective, um, as a heavy user here of GelatoConnect and StoreLink, are there aspects that you feel that we should cover in addition to what has been presented today?
When it comes to StoreLink, I think it's important to understand the power that you're getting, right? And visually seeing the feature. I think it'd be valuable to go through actually typing in a prompt, showing them how the t-shirts, they can select 12 different colors. Because if you haven't done it, I don't think people know how overwhelming that is and how long it takes. So I think really seeing it. And for those of you wondering, right? Oh, when am I ever going to sell in a marketplace? Well, this is 80% of the tool. This is 80% of the tool of selling on a marketplace. The other 20% is that you have to create your account, do all your stuff, but this solves the majority of the problem. So I think if we take them through the process of the shirt wise that they can offer to their customers and they can see the different variants and everything with the colors, I think that'd be valuable as well.
Alyssa, should we do this now or record it and send it out, or how are we doing on time?
I know we're running out of time, so I mean, I think that what we can do is that we can record it and send it out to everyone who's signed up here, and also make sure that it's available on our site. We do have a lot of features, and the great thing is that things are coming out on the daily. So I think that if we think about the things that will save you absolutely the most time, things like variant control, personalization that can bump up your AOV, I'll record some step-by-step demos that you can also click through at your own leisure that will show you how to set those things up.
And I think it might be helpful for them to see the final product on the marketplace because I think we're all curious how it looks on Etsy, TikTok, Shopify, or I can even share mine because I have a
Yeah,
bunch of
sure.
products.
We'd love to see yours. Yeah.
Last question here. Hi, I'm starting a print agency for printing restaurant menus, booklets, etc. Can Gelato accommodate this? I worked with different software when one is able to upload image and the data is extracted and added to template. Is there anything in the roadmap for this type of service? Alyssa.
I think we actually have a demo store that we can share with exactly this use case. So we have hotels in particular are really, really interested in this. And we actually have an entire store that we can record a demo of that will show you how to add different menus, what that can look like. So you have the e-commerce or the web to print, depending on what level of customization you want. So whoever asked that question, you can feel free to get in touch and we can explore which one is better for you. If it's hosted on Shopify, it's probably e-commerce. If it's, if you need sort of a branded portal that is fully customized, it's web to print. Um, Either one can accommodate exactly what you're talking about.
I
Great.
was going to
Thank you,
say, I
Zach.
actually have that one, so
Yeah.
I'd be happy to help with the recording and to connect to follow up on that. So I've got that exact use case available to show.
Great. Thank you. Zach, anything on your end before we say thank you for everyone that has participated?
Yeah, I think there's one thing, because Henrik, you touched on it before with being connected into procurement and these major suppliers. So when you think about being able to launch these new products and publish these new products, you have the ability to do it with stocked items. So what you're keeping on hand in inventory, as well as taking advantage of just in time with these suppliers. So you can really launch, multiple different sizes, all these different colors without then tying up capital in the warehouse and in inventory. So having that just-in-time capability is a big part that will allow you to essentially release as many new products as you would like through these stores. So because it's all connected, because it's now, StoreLink with GelatoConnect and procurement, as well as the integrations that we have with those suppliers, it does provide you a lot of freedom from product expansion without ending up with a whole bunch of items in the warehouse.
And Zach, get a question here. How can I come in contact with you? And so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to post your email address here so everyone can There you go.
I've
Here.
also put my email address, so
Okay, great.
especially about these new use cases. And I don't know if JC wanted to show his variants if
Oh yeah, sure.
there are people.
Alyssa, one thing I don't know if you covered the portals that each customer has their separate store
Yeah.
on store links. You already did?
No, no, I didn't cover it, but that's a really good point. So
I
you
think that's
can
super
manage
important.
you
Can
can manage
you?
hundreds of different portals, right? Right, JC?
Yeah. So right now, for example, one of my biggest things was how do I see what that person ordered, the POD customer that connected? How do I not have them calling me every day? So through Gelato, you create a store link portal for that customer, and it's with your branded, whatever your business is called. In my case, Imperial Custom Apparel. They go in, they see their orders, they see all their information, all their products. You pick what you want them to see on the catalog, and you could even set specific pricing for your customers that are giving you 200 orders a day, or your customer that's giving you 50 orders a day.
That's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up, JC. I think from a timing perspective, I just want to be respectful of everyone's time. My recommendation, Alyssa and JC, is that we record. And then, Alyssa, we follow up on the promises that we've made during this webinar. And then in 2 weeks' time, let's call for another webinar considering everything that is happening and how fast things are moving, to Alyssa's point previously, like the autonomous agentic networks that are being deployed across Gelato now. We are looking at like 10 to up to 50 times higher efficiency per engineer. And so it's just absolutely wild what we are able to accomplish. And so in 2 weeks' time, a lot of progress will have been made, and let's send a new invite for that webinar. Before we say thank you to everyone, JC, truly appreciate that you join and share your views and perspectives. We're very grateful to have you as a customer. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me, and I appreciate everything. And if you guys have any questions and want to reach me directly, you can find me on Instagram, or you can go on my website and send me a message. And I'd love to spend some time and show you what we're doing.
Thank you. It's about sharing and generosity. So take care, everyone, and then we'll speak soon again.